The lawnmower being assembled on this production line has been sold successfully for many years. Recently, the manufacturer decided it was time to bring out an updated model with as many improvements as possible. The company saw no need to change the motor, and they did not want to change the production line. The main aim was to modernise the design. The design brief was taken to a firm of industrial designers. Industrial designers are responsible for the appearance of a product, as well as its ergonomic features, such as ease of use and safety. The manufacturer will usually have the mechanical design done already. We went to visit Blue Sky to see how they designed the lawnmower.
Victor analysed their competitors and their marketplace, and they came to the conclusion that they needed to upgrade their mowers. So we were very pleased that we were selected as the design firm to redesign the new Victor mower. And once we established the scope of works and the brief, and they constrained us with some things. They wanted to use existing engines that they use. They manufacture a two-stroke engine here in Australia, and they wanted us to use their industrial capability. So we had a tour of their factory, so we understood how their operation worked. The design process is all about renewal. Part of our role was to look at the previous models from Victor, the old models that they'd done, and we take the good elements of those older mowers and then combine them with state-of-the-art practices. At the outset of a project, the first thing all industrial designers do first is you have to do the research. You really have to understand everything there is about mowers, and it's quite a challenge to suddenly come from not knowing a great deal about mowers to ramping up on a great deal of experience on what makes a good mower. This looks like a graveyard, all the dead bodies of mowers that didn't make it, but they've all been pulled apart and analysed very carefully by the design team and made their contribution to the process. So we analysed all of the competitors, looked at the various materials and what was happening internationally as well. One of the nice things with the internet is you can surf the planet and see every mower manufacturer, worldwide, look at how they're solving their problems. And so we brainstormed for, I think it was about a day and a half, and we really pasted, right across the walls with all of these ideas. Some were wild and wacky, some you could implement immediately. Okay, here's an example of a new type of handle with better controls and better ergonomics. Some of our early research indicated the backyard sizes are changing, so the mower needs to change in line with changes in our lifestyle and our environment. In fact, in the workshop we had a university guy named Steve Ward. He's an ergonomist, and he was fantastic. He participated in the workshop, gave us a lot of insights as to back problems and injuries caused by people handling mowers in the wrong way. Also the blade process, looking at the cut process, how the blade works and how it can be configured. Its primary function is to cut grass well. So we started doing a lot of research in what makes the blades cut. This is a new type of catcher for ease of access. Here, controls and storage of equipment, fuel tanks, height adjustment mechanisms. So all of this sorts of information, I guess, goes into this melting pot in the design workshop or the brainstorming session. Here is the next stage of the development, where we take those ideas that we just discussed from the workshop, and then we start to model them in a program called Rhino. And Rhino is a very intuitive 3D program. So it enables industrial designers to very quickly visualise an object. And we can then output them as a high resolution image like this. And we then present the next level of images to Victor management. And so we put it into a PowerPoint show that we then project onto their boardroom wall. So first we talk about marketing aspects of their brand. What have other companies done to maximise the effect of their products in the marketplace? And here we can see Honda trail bikes own the colour red. And I think this is a clever strategy. DeWalt Power Tools own this colour yellow. We should give Victor a strong identity too. At first glance you go, that's a Victor. And that's the effect that we want. Then we started in the presentation first working through various aspects of the mower. So here the controls. Our ergonomist was involved in lots of this work to ensure that the angle and the position of the grips were all correct. At all times, as though we're worried about the appearance and the materials, but if it doesn't cut the best, then we haven't met our mission either. Looking at the various number of components, how they all interact and fit together. The showroom floor image, how it looks to customers at their first reaction. Well, our original brief, I guess, was limited to a certain extent to the deck, which is the essence of a mower. So they'd constrained us initially to the essence of the mower. But as we started, they could see that new types of handles and new wheels and new cut mechanisms would all really enhance their company and their brand and their future. So the board very quickly, I think, accepted those new directions, and we then expanded the size of the project to include all of these new aspects. So it was sort of great for us too, because rather than just doing a deck, we're going to produce a whole new direction for Victor.
With their initial design approved by Victor management, the designers were able to move on to the next stage of development.
So we sent our Rhino CAD file to our model makers, and they made a wooden pattern, and then they moulded this fiberglass mock-up, and it's not very beautiful, but it represents the inside where the blades rotate of the mower. So then what we did was we fixed an engine to this, wheels and everything else, so it was a working mower, and what we found was that our original design didn't work very well. And in this particular prototype, you can see there's whole ranges of modifications. This angle was changed many times until we got it distributing the grass evenly inside the catcher. This ramp also creates a dynamic airflow inside the mower, and it's one of these black arts. There's a lot of theory about airflow and what happens in a fan situation, but you don't really find out the truth until you make a mock-up and try it. And the Victor engineers were actually fantastic because they have many years of experience on what makes a mower cut well. So it's all to do with the blade tip, the tip speed, the angle the blade strikes the grass, all of these sorts of factors. We then bought 4 other competitor mowers, and we tested our cut sample against all of the competitors. We then made a series of cardboard templates right across each of these sections through this area, and then that gave us a series of data points that we then modelled in a program called SolidWorks so that we could reproduce this. It won't change its performance. As you can see, it's a rough model. If we're 0.5 millimetre or a millimetre out in any one point, it's not that precise, but we have to maintain the essence of what's happening in these shapes in the computer data now. You can see on the screen here, this is the final deck design modelled in SolidWorks. From the SolidWorks file, we then send the data to a company in Queensland, and they have a pretty advanced rapid prototype system called selective laser sintering. And so from our CAD file, they then produce this sample. So this is, it's a resin-based compound, and it's the first, I guess, prototype that follows exactly our data. So then this was assembled, wheels and all of the other components put together, final testing, fit and finish, clearance to make sure the engines all fit and mount well. And from here, the tooling was given the okay. So at this point, there's all of the documentation for the design is ready. Of course, each one of these parts, of which there are probably about 300, there's an individual drawing. And each of these drawings get passed on to the tool makers and the fabricators along with the CAD file. So we usually give them a drawing like this in paper and a CD, so that they've got the data and a hard copy. And now the real investment starts. The tool makers are given the go-ahead, And this tool took 3 months to produce.
This is the first off-tool sample. Off-tool means it is made using the tools that will be used in normal production.
So they start with a casting as a base plate to the tool, and then it's a gravity feed aluminium part.
There was a choice of making the base plate out of pressed steel or cast aluminium. Mild steel is very tough, making it stone resistant. However, the new aluminium alloys are almost as tough as steel. Pressed steel is light and not very rigid. Aluminium casting is thick, making it heavier and rigid so that it is very stable. The tool for the press costs about $600,000. For aluminium alloy die casting, the tool costs about $60,000, 1/10 the price. So a tool for aluminium can be changed without breaking the budget.
Another off-tool part that we've got here, which is actually manufactured in New Zealand, is the wheel. And this is something that I think is a very ingenious piece of work from Attila and from Henry Sparl, our two main guys on the team. This wheel, the thing about it that's, I guess, ingenious, is that it comes with the hubcap secured, and there's a little circlip that fits into the back of the hubcap. So that it comes from the factory as a complete assembly with a circlip in place, and then on the factory floor, all that's required by the assembly guys is they slide the wheel on and give it a hit, and it snaps and locks onto place, so that there's no fitting or assembly time in the factory. So that's where you get industrial advantages from good design.
Victor puts its prototypes and off-tool samples through a series of tests at the factory to ensure the model meets safety and durability standards. Ball bearing tests are used to ensure that the mower doesn't send foreign objects high enough to hit the operator or anyone standing nearby.
We put the lawnmower in here and we inject 1/4-inch steel balls up into the blades, and we check where they come out. You can see on the paper there's one impact here. They're allowed so many up to 300 mil, so many up to the top of the cardboard, and nothing off the top.
The handles are tested to see if the metal fatigues with repeated vibration and use. Blades too are tested for fatigue by bending them back and forth thousands of times. Tyre wear is tested on this drum.
My role was to do all the product finishes, so to choose the colours and all the graphics for the whole product. So I worked very closely with Henry and Mark, and also with Victor and with the people on production. All the graphics, including the Razor logo, label on the cowling of the motor, the safety graphics as well, and the control panel, so how you use the product. And also choosing the colour blue was very important, and which parts were going to be silver and which parts were going to be blue. And the idea of the product was that all the parts that you touch are in the charcoal grey, so the knob on the control panel is charcoal grey, and on the handle the grips are charcoal grey, and any of the adjustment parts are also charcoal grey. Just as it's not something you would really pick up as a consumer, but it's a subconscious thing that people know how to use it because of that reference to the charcoal grey.
With the design completed and approved and testing procedures satisfied, the new mower can go into production. The designers have managed to go beyond their original brief, improving both the appearance and functionality of the product, while making sure that the new design can still be made on the existing production line. From here on, it's up to the Victor sales and marketing team to win the retailers and consumers over to the new and improved design.
The next part of a company's process to bring a product to market is marketing. Okay, we've put our heart and soul into creating this new mower, and now for it to have commercial success, we have to tell the community about it. And the marketing department at Victor have done a fantastic job, quite inspirational, to promote the product in such a great way. So we're now going to be watching the sales figures and working with the Victor guys to see that our initial mission has been achieved. And so for us, it's been a great experience.